The message is very clear. The border is not open.
We are still a beacon of hope.
The Biden administration had 2 years to prepare for this and did not do so.
We're boarding up like if it's a hurricane coming.
The states need to take action.
An all-important day today. Thanks for joining us. I'm Pat Simon. My co-anchor Clara Benitez is on assignment. We will be joining her in just a moment. We lead things off tonight with team coverage on the end of Title 42, the Trump-era COVID policy that prevents people from entering the country. Tonight, border cities, including right here in Texas, are bracing for an influx of migrants and asylum seekers. That includes El Paso, McAllen, and Brownsville. Let's first get you up to speed on what's happening. Title 42 was rolled out in March 2020 by the CDC and allowed officials to prevent people from entering the country and spreading COVID-19. More than 2.8 million people were turned away from the country's southern border over the past 3 years. Authorities use this as a temporary solution to the border crisis. But as the Biden administration ends the COVID-19 public health emergency, the rule also comes to an end tonight at 11:59. Now, the U.S. is bracing itself for an increase in migrants and asylum seekers, with cities like El Paso declaring a state of emergency already. Border towns are overwhelmed by the number of people seeking shelter, with many sleeping in the streets. We lead things off tonight with a look at the U.S.-Mexico border. As I said at the top, my co-anchor Clara Benitez joins us now live from there after speaking with the mayor of McAllen, who says, Clara, that they are preparing for hundreds of migrants to be dropped off before Title 42 expires tonight. Clara, how many people are we talking about?
Well, Pat, we're talking about 2,000 of them being dropped off in McAllen. That's according to McAllen Mayor Javier Villalobos. Now, the capacity for the respite center, which takes care of these migrants, well, that's 1,500. So the rest of those migrants are going to have to go to an overflow shelter. That's called Anzalduas Park. That's near the Rio Grande in Anzalduas, which has been closed off to the public. That number is before Title 42 expires. Now, McAllen Mayor Javier Villalobos expects that number to increase starting tomorrow. Like other border cities, McAllen declared a state of emergency 2 years ago and is still under that same emergency. Mayor Villalobos says it's not just the capacity they are worried about, it's transportation.
And not just capacity, you have logistics, and now you have to transport them out. So we need buses, airplanes, all that type of stuff. So we get into those issues. Is there a capacity to, because they don't want to stay here, they want to go out. And then that's stated before also, the financial resources are not, the immigrants we have now are not necessarily what it used to be a year, 2 years ago.
Sister Norma Pimentel with Catholic Charities says she's going to try to house as many migrants as she can and is talking to several parishes in the area that can open their doors to these migrants. Now, Pat, on our way from Corpus Christi down here to the border, we saw several DPS troopers. And again, Governor Greg Abbott put in Operation Lone Star in 2021. And so they have really been down here, even along the border. And like we mentioned, I've lived here for 3 years. This has been the most influx that I've seen in DPS troopers. Back to you, Pat.
Clara, thanks so much. We'll continue to check in with Clara throughout the evening. Now, many of those crossing into the country are expected to travel through Brownsville, north of the town of Matamoros in Mexico. The recent scene of an SUV crash that left 8 people dead and around 10 others hurt outside a migrant center. We send things over now to John Moan for the latest there.
The refugee camp sits on a sharp bend of the Rio Grande. It's just a swim away from the U.S. border near Brownsville, Texas, if you dare.
Pero ya no teníamos más nada porque no teníamos otros recursos, pero era el único medio de nosotros poder pasar y cumplir un sueño, una meta final.
Luz Marita Yairia counts herself amongst the thousands of Venezuelans at this makeshift community in Matamoros. It's one of the most dangerous cities in northern Mexico, where migrants often fall prey to kidnappers, gangsters, and rapists. She's just one of many desperate men, women, and children stretching along the U.S. border, trying to navigate recent and confusing changes in U.S. immigration policies. The Trump administration invoked Title 42 in 2020, using an existing public health policy to prevent COVID from spreading as a substitute for immigration law. It resulted in the expulsion of millions of asylum seekers back to Mexico. The policy expires just before midnight tonight, with President Joe Biden announcing more legal pathways to reach the U.S. But White House officials are still discouraging migrants from trying to cross over.
Let me be clear. The lifting of the Title 42 public health order does not mean our border is open. In fact, it is the contrary.
The new policies are confusing to many migrants, many of whom are desperately trying to score an appointment at a border checkpoint on a glitchy app with only 1,000 available spots a day. Some have tried for appointments for months with no luck. People can also try for asylum through humanitarian parole, although it's limited to Cubans, Haitians, Nicaraguans, and Venezuelans. The last option is to cross illegally and begin a formal deportation process. Families and children will most likely be put on a slower track, meaning they can live and work legally in the U.S. until a court hearing. But most single adults will be likely removed quickly. Migrants also face what's called a transit ban. That means they must first seek asylum in countries they've passed through, which can be an extremely lengthy and potentially dangerous process. But if they don't and cross illegally, U.S. immigration officials can block entry and deport them.
Let's set up regional processing centers. Let's work to make sure that people have options so that if they're looking to seek asylum or if they're looking to come fill a job, how can we make sure that we match those things up?
But officials like Mayor Victor Trevino of Laredo, Texas, fear chaos and strain on his city's resources once Title 42 is lifted.
We're in the trenches of the immigration problem, so we're boarding up like if it's a hurricane coming.
John Moan, Scripps News, Brownsville, Texas.
The city of Laredo is also preparing for a possible surge of migrants. 2 shelters there are being prepared, and the city has a backup plan if more space is needed. If there's an overflow, the city's recreation centers will be turned to shelters. The city says that it may also have to bus migrants to other cities if they run out of space. In El Paso tonight, several shelters opening up to prepare for the expected increase in asylum seekers there. 2 middle schools are being used as shelters and can each hold up to 1,000 people. El Paso's Convention Center is also on standby. It can handle another 2,000. Yesterday, migrants could be seen loading onto Border Patrol buses along the border highway. The city is unsure whether to expect mostly families or single adults. As we mentioned at the top of our newscast, it's not just Texas preparing for the surge in migrants. Marie Coronel takes us to San Ysidro, California, with a look at the humanitarian efforts there.
In anticipation of the end of Title 42, a number of local organizations continue to show up here at the border, ready to offer help to the migrants who are waiting here. The concerns are now focused on how long it will take to process each of their claims.
We let them know that we see their humanity, we see their dignity, and we will do anything and everything to help when they are in need.
That's Adriana Hassel. She's with the American Friends Service Committee. For the last few weeks, members of this organization have been showing up at the border, checking in with migrants. Even though Border Patrol agents have brought in snacks and water, Adriana says that's not enough to get by. As the number of migrants grows, so does the need, and those needs continue after. But they're confident the community will step in to help.
As you can see, trash bags, blankets, some of them were asking for sweaters, water, Pedialyte, formula for the babies, diapers, feminine products. We have also brought a lot of that. And it's just mainly what we hear from them.
Adriana says their group is committed to continue regularly coming out here, checking in with the migrants and providing the assistance that they need. Reporting from San Ysidro, I'm Marie Cornell.
Make sure to stay with us tonight at 6 and 10 as our border coverage continues. We'll also have all of our Border Watch coverage in one place. All you have to do is scan that QR code you see right there with your smartphone right now. It's going to take you directly to the page, or you could just log on to our website at kristv.com and click on the Border Watch tab on the left side of the screen. We are shifting gears right now for a first look outside and why you really need to pay close attention to the weather for the next few days. Here's Chief Meteorologist Dale Nelson. Dale.
Thank you, Pat, and good evening, everyone. As you take a look at the pictures behind Pat and behind me, it is quiet and seasonally nice outside. It is very warm and humid here today. In fact, hot in Kingsville. They're in the 90s, a hazy sunshine everywhere in the coastal bend, and as promised, we dried out today. There is, however, a flood watch in effect beginning tomorrow afternoon and lasting through Saturday night for the entire coastal bend and the Kris 6 viewing area. The National Weather Service is saying the ground is saturated and flooding caused by excessive rainfall is expected. So that is not good news if you have outdoor plans here this weekend. Right now, we are rain-free across the entire region and heating up and drying out as well, with the temperatures at 88 degrees here in Corpus Christi, 91 in Kingsville, and 93 in Alice. Feel-like temperature is 101 outside. Can it get any worse than this? Yeah, there's a lot of rain coming, and in a few minutes I'll tell you about it and tell you all about it too. Pat?
Okay, Dale, thanks. A closer look tonight what Nueces County Commissioners say the new design of Bob Hall Pier could be like. And later, a plea for help, the urgent plea to state lawmakers tonight for families most in need of child care. Thanks for watching Kris 6 News at 5. Welcome back. We're getting a better look tonight at what the new Bob Hall Pier could look like. You'll recall the pier was severely damaged by Hurricane Hannah back in 2020. Well, yesterday, Nueces County Commissioners were presented with these renderings of the possible design for the structure. There's still a lot more to be done before construction begins, including permits needed before the start of the construction in 2024. The project currently remains at an estimated $27 million. Time now for a look at the roadways out there. Dale Nelson standing by with the latest on how traffic is flowing this afternoon. Dale.
Yes, indeed. And SPID, our Skycam over there, looks good in both directions. No problems. Hazy sunshine out at Commodores and Park Road 22 out on the island. Little traffic backed up there at the light, but that is normal. The haze is from the agricultural fires, of course, down in Mexico with a prevailing wind coming from that direction. There's the JFK Causeway, all clear until you get to the traffic backed up there at the light. See how that's yellow right there? And then along SPID, you can see that it's all ready to go and no problems there whatsoever. That's the way you like to see it. Cross streets are looking a little shaky as usual. Weber, Everhart, and South Staples, along with Airline. And then down here along Holly Road, they're all there. The cross streets are slow. And we've got Upper Broadway is now totally closed off here, according to this map in purple here. That means that road is closed. There's also some other slow going in the downtown area between there and Uptown. 24 minutes to the island, 10 to Portland, and 15 to Cal Allen. What's going on with the weather? I'll let you know. I'll have all the details for you coming up next.
Now, your Kris 6 weather forecast.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Well, it dried out today, thank goodness, right? And hazy sunshine across the area. 79 on the low. That's a big summertime reading. 89 on the afternoon high. No rainfall. We've got a surplus for the year of over an inch, but that's going to go way up between now and this time next week. 88 right now. A moderate breeze at 14 miles an hour from the south-southeast, and temperatures in the 80s and 90s across the region, with the exception of Flower Bluff at 78. Our hour-by-hour forecast keeps us here in Corpus Christi in the upper 70s again tonight, and then the mid-80s tomorrow, where it'll be hazy and humid and mostly cloudy and a little more wind in the day. So the temperature is slightly lower, but not by much. Satellite and radar shows quiet conditions across the region, and again, that hazy sunshine. Here is the problem. Okay, so tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, we've got a disturbance coming at us. This is upper-level energy that induces instability, which creates showers and thunderstorms. And with the instability around, they produce locally heavy rain. This is out to the west of us, so we're getting in on the positive side of this for a rain to occur. And then look what happens on Saturday. It's sitting right over us. And then on Sunday, it's still here. And then it gradually starts to go away by Monday of next week, but not completely. So here's how that shapes up. There's a lot of things going on in the atmosphere, and it's hard to pinpoint, in all honesty, right now. Is it going to rain? Absolutely. But where and when and exactly how much is still out there, and we'll continue to update this. But cloudy in the morning, hazy sunshine in the afternoon tomorrow, and then that disturbance starts up out to the west around Tilden. This is at 11 o'clock tomorrow night. and then it advances into the heart of the coastal bend out here to the west at 4 a.m., and then it pushes through Corpus Christi and the rest of the coastal bend around 7, and it's still around at 10 a.m. with more coming after that. So it looks very active here until afternoon hours on Saturday, and that's when the mother lode of rain is going to show up. Now this is a different model, but the general idea is more heavy rain here on Saturday, and then it tapers off Saturday night. We pick it up again near the coast on Sunday morning. I think Mother's Day will be the drier day of the 2-day weekend. And we'll see a lot less rain on Sunday because the atmosphere will be worked over. And then by the time we get to Monday, the atmosphere recharges with scattered activity. And then we get a break Monday night, and then it's back with us on Tuesday. So with that in mind, the excessive rainfall outlook, not a problem for tomorrow in our area. But by the time we get to Saturday, we've got a moderate risk of excessive rainfall. That's over 4 inches, and that'll cause flooding, and that's why we've got the flash flood watch in effect. Haven't seen that in a long time. Since last August is the last time we had that blanket the entire region. That's a long time ago. So here's the rain with that first surge coming in through Sunday morning. We're talking anywhere up to 5 inches of rain in some spots. Some areas you notice freer, less than an inch there, and about 3 inches for Corpus Christi. But it could be more, could be a little bit less. Then if you take a look at this, the rainfall potential, this falls in the watershed, and this is why I think we will go over 50% of capacity by the time we get to early June as the water filters in. Overall, 2 to 4 inches along the coast, 3 to 5 further inland, and 4 to 6 just outside of our viewing area out to the west in the watershed. 87 and hazy and very warm tomorrow. Showers and thunderstorms likely, only 80 on Saturday with locally heavy rain, and then more rain here Mother's Day, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, but it'll be in the form of scattered thunder showers, nothing too heavy nor severe. All right, we'll be back with Pat right after this.
Welcome back. We all know some families spend a big chunk of money for child care. But as Michelle Lorenzo shows us, providers are having a hard time as well. Financial struggles have resulted in some permanent closures and a plea to our state lawmakers for help.
So what did you guys observe in the last couple of years?
We were hopping along just great. We were targeted to have a great year.
But then the pandemic hit in 2020. You might recall early on it forced the state to demand facilities like daycares to drop to 50% capacity, eliminating a large portion of income. 3 years later, care providers are still dealing with COVID-19 impacts as pandemic relief expires. About a third of the state's child care providers remain closed. The ones that have survived and continue to serve, like the neighborhood centers of Corpus Christi, are still struggling with money.
We can't raise our fees because we price out the people we were tasked to serve. So we have to keep our fees manageable and within their budgets, but yet we still have to provide the same care.
Flores says a lot of expenses are for facilities and also payroll.
Our numbers are still down, but our costs have gone up dramatically, 30 to 40%. And much of that is attributed to our payroll costs because we've had to increase pay to attract personnel. Inflation's gone up. Cost of food.
And yet there's still a shortage of workers. Flores says the nonprofit wants to provide a good wage for care providers who also help educate the young children. However, he believes the state needs to help keep these essential services afloat. House and Senate lawmakers are currently negotiating the 2024-25 spending plan. A $2.3 billion proposal could help provide some funding for child care providers if approved. A direct-to-provider payment of about $1,000 per child a year could go to the state's more than 13,000 licensed child care centers. The hope is to help raise the average wage of staff and educators from $12 to $15 per hour. The fate of this funding is still uncertain, though, and advocates and providers say more needs to be done before it's too late.
We're still looking at possibly having to shut down some centers if we don't find additional funding. TAEYC, the Texas Association of Education of Young Children, forecasts that roughly 44% of child care facilities will go under in 2 years if we don't get additional funding.
Reporting from Corpus Christi, Michelle Lorenzo, Kris 6 News.
I'll take you outside right now for our live look from our Kris 6 sky cam. It's going to be a much different picture coming up. When will we receive all that rain? Dale has the answer next.
Hi, everybody. Well, welcome back. Let's take a look at the dog walking forecast for this evening. It looks good. Got some sunshine out there and warm temperatures and a moderate breeze. No problems, no rain. The day planner for tomorrow, you'll see 78, very warm at 7 in the morning. Mostly cloudy through 5 p.m. and temperatures in the mid to upper 80s. Southeasterly breeze tomorrow afternoon and no rain tomorrow. But that changes here by the time we get to tomorrow night. There might be a sprinkle in the morning, but nothing to worry about. Pat?
Dale, thanks. Stay with us throughout the evening for more on the border watch at the end of Title 42. More continues now on NBC Nightly News. We'll see you back here at 6.